Hello, people. Welcome to Pass the Parsley. I'm your host, Tyler Felix. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I haven't done this podcast for a little while. It's been probably like a week or like two. But there's a reason because of that. And it's not because I went to hiding because I predicted that Ben Askren would beat Jake Paul and he got knocked out within a round. Gotta tell you, it's not because of that. Which was that fight was just upsetting, and like all the dummies saying that it's rigged and shit like that. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. I just love how all of these people who've never watched combat sports period in their entire lives, they're suddenly experts on, oh, that fucking fight was rigged. And their fucking reasoning was just like, oh, he was a pro fighter and he got knocked out, in like the first round, and that he was happy like after. It's like, well, first of all, Ben's not a great boxer, right? Jake hit him clean. I mean, and he's happy because he just made $1 million, and he was just laughing at how outrageous the entire fucking situation was. I mean, like, how could the man not be happy? I mean, this fight literally meant nothing. Like, this, if Ben won this fight or if Ben lost this fight, it didn't really matter, right? So I feel like that's why he didn't really give a shit. I mean, he obviously cared. He obviously wanted to win, but afterwards he's like, yeah. I mean, I still have my wife, still have my kids, I still have fucking wrestling, and now I just made like a fucking $1 million. So who gives a fuck? But anyways, I've haven't been back since, and there's a reason for that. So the new podcast, even though there's nobody listening, which is mainly why I took like a week off or so, because no one's disappointed. There's not a soul that's like, oh, I was looking forward to pass the parsley to that stuttering fucking mumbling prick talk shit about fighters. I guarantee that there was nobody that fucking said that. So, but anyways, from not from here on out, but I am slowly going to transition to a different format, right? So So from here on out, I am going to switch to once per week until, I fully switch over to the new format. And basically, I just want more scripted things. I mean, I don't really want to give it away what I'm going to do, but it'll be involved in the combat sports world. And it'll be a lot better produced, and it'll be more scripted, and it's gonna be a lot more effort than these bullshit half-assed podcasts, because I realize that Chael Sonnen, Bisbing, DC, Dan Hardy, that these guys do exactly what I'm doing here, and they do it a lot better, and they're not mumbling and stuttering and sound like a fucking idiot. So for me, realistically, to try to carve out my little niche, doing it this way, I feel like it's the hardest. It's the hardest route. But there's not a lot of people that make nice, decently produced content. Like, just most of it's just this, where they're just talking shit, which this, I mean, is nice, and I mean, but for a guy like me, because if you're currently listening, you probably listen for a couple minutes just based off of the clickbait title. Then you're just like, oh, this is fucking garbage. And then you just turn it off, right? Which I don't blame you. Because honestly, why are you listening? Like, go and listen to like Chael Sonnen. Go and listen to fucking Brendan Schaub. Go and listen to DC. Literally doing exactly what I'm doing now. They're just breaking down the fucking fights. And actually, Schaub now does like bets. He does like fucking betting odds. So it's like, yeah, like my one little niche that I was trying to carve out is like my bets, But then, there's a ton of people doing that too. So, anyways, I'm going to transition So from here on out, it'll be once a week on either Wednesdays or Thursdays. I'm going to record them Wednesday, probably put them up Wednesday night, or, if I miss it, I'll definitely put it out Thursday. So, yeah, and I'm not too sure if I'll continue on with the bets, so, I want to, but this week I'm not doing bets because the FanDuel, man, I don't know what's up with them, but I love to bet prop bets, right? How long the fight will go and stuff like that. And they've just been having just straight up fucking money lines, which I really don't like doing that because in the sport, it's so hard to pick who will win that has decent odds, right? I mean, it's easy to say, that a plus one, well, not a plus, but a fucking minus 400 person will win. I mean, that's not that hard to say. I mean, it's not really hard to say that Usman will beat George or anything like that. I mean, I feel like all of us, fight fans saw that coming. I mean, definitely not that fucking knockout. I mean, I definitely didn't see that coming, but I feel like we all saw Usman winning because the first fight was so dominant that I didn't really see a way that George could change it in the second fight, and he didn't, and he lost. So making picks like that is super easy, but making picks where you could pick a fighter that has decent odds for them to win, that's a lot harder. So that's why I try to stray away from that. But anyways, so I mean, we could talk about that, right? George got flatlined for really the first time ever. The last time he did was in 2008. It was what's that, 13 years? I mean, and then the last time he got finished was in 2009, which was that inverted triangle choke. Where if there's anybody listening, I mean, I'm sure you already hear, but I have a stutter and it's annoying as fuck, and I'm sure it pisses you off just as much as it pisses me off. So I'm sorry for that. I try to push through it. I try to not stutter, but it's a speech impediment. I mean, I think everybody who has a speech impediment would prefer to not have it, but it is what it is. But anyways, so that is when I first found out about George, is when he got choked out, because that was in Bellator, and that was one of the craziest subs I've ever seen. I mean, still to this day, you could go back and fucking watch that. It was an inverted fucking triangle choke. Still, I mean, very, very rare. I mean, to this day, it's very, very rare. I mean, I could count on one hand, the amount of fights I've seen that, where guys have, pulled that off. Because you have to be in a very weird spot for you to pull that off. But, yeah, so George got stopped for the first time in, over a decade, and I feel like it came down to that George didn't really respect his power necessarily. His hands were down, but what really got him is that takedown was in his head, right? I feel like his game plan was definitely to stuff that takedown and then keep it on the feet, and then beat Usman in that way. So Usman, he faked it, right? Went to go and shoot in, and then came up with a slapping hook, and then that straight right that just fucking put George out, man. That was one of the hardest punches I've seen in a while, man. You literally saw just the sweat explode off of George's head. That picture's insane. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but definitely fucking Google it, man. That is one of the most insane just fight pictures I've seen in a while, man. He literally hits him, and there's just a halo of just sweat that exploded from fucking George's head. And then Weidman, I mean, I hate seeing anything like that, man. I hate seeing guys get hurt, especially such a great guy like Chris, who's trying to, you know, come come back from multiple losses. I think what he's lost 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 or something like that, and it was just terrible. And I mean, Hall, I mean, he's the first fighter ever to win a fight and not throw a single strike, which is an insane stat. I mean, it literally happened. It was the first. It was the first strike of the fight. It was within like 10 seconds, and you watch it back, man, and like the kick was like bad, right? The kick definitely broke it, but like what really did it was that step back when he went to go and step back on it, and then his leg literally just bent in half. His leg, like, it was so insanely brutal. Where he got the same surgery that actually Silva did, where they have to drill a steel rod from the top of your knee all the way down through your tibia into your ankle bone. Which doesn't sound fun, folks. Just think of that, just having like a 2-foot like steel rod pretty much inserted from your knee all the way through your fucking shin bone and then drilled into your ankle. It's crazy. And he broke his tibia and also fibia, which the fibia, like, both of them completely snapped. Like, the x-rays, utterly brutal, completely snapped. And then the tibia, they, drilled the fucking rod through. But then the fibia, or the fibula, like, is it the fibula or the fibia? Like, I'm not sure, but they said, oh yeah, no, that'll just kind of heal. That'll just kind of set itself back. And it's like, I know you're doctors, but are you sure? Like, that seems pretty brutal. Like, you're like not gonna put like a little brace or something. Like, that just seems kind of crazy that they both snapped completely in half, and then one of them you put a steel rod through, then the other one you're like, it's fine, it should heal. It's like, what? Ain't gang? Which, like, if you're Chris, I mean, like, you can't be like, no, I want you to put something there, right? Because, I mean, they're doctors. They should know what they're talking about. But, like, the big question that I kept on hearing is, like, is this it? Like, is this Chris's last fight? And I feel like because of the guy that Chris is, that there's no way that he would let this be his last fight. But but for a guy like Chris, it's like, I know that he doesn't think so, but I mean, he's kind of towards the end here. I feel like it's not even necessarily that he's he's not there physically or anything like that. I just feel like his skill set, I feel like people just have figured him out, right? And the sport has moved past him. And his skill set's a little too limited to beat, those top 3, those top 4 guys. I mean, I definitely think that he could get, like, a lot of great wins, but I don't know. I don't really see him regaining that belt or really getting close to it. So it's like, why continue fighting? I mean, fighting is so brutal. I mean, and we just saw that, like, with this fight. I mean, the man snapped his leg in fucking half, and then now he can't walk for the next, like, 3 to like 4 months. He can't train for 6 months to a, like, year. Definitely can't fight for like 18 months, for 24 months, right? So, and then we saw also Bisping got his eye fucking poked out, right? There's it's a countless amount of guys who, that their knees are just destroyed, their backs get destroyed, their necks get destroyed, and they're just in pain for pretty much the rest of their fucking life, right? There's a lot that happens to more than half of the guys in this sport, where I just see memes on Facebook with guys who train, and it's just always about that, where they joke about being fucked up, where they'll be I actually really call where my knees were just left and right and not good and bad, and just stuff like that, where it's funny, but it's kind of a fucked up part of the sport that it destroys your fucking body. So it's if you can't be the champion, it's you probably shouldn't even be fighting. I mean, honestly, it's obviously different for each people, for each person, because I feel there's a lot of fighters that that this is what they do. They're a fighter, and they don't really do much else. So it's this is what they know. So I feel it's very hard, and just also that competition that they just need to fight, that there's a lot of guys that need to fight, and I feel Chris is one of those guys, especially since he's a very prideful person, and his past few fights have not gone the way that he wanted to at all, and I think that really irks him, and that he wanted to bounce back, and and then he snapped his leg and fucking out. So it's it gets to a point where you need to put your pride to the side and realize that, I have a beautiful wife and kids. I mean, he could definitely work the fucking desk or be a commentator or something. I mean, Chris is a super funny guy. I think he would do a great job with that stuff. I don't know if he has interest in it, but I think he'd probably be a great coach too. So I mean, I think you should definitely look towards shit like that. It's why the fuck? Why? Just, I mean, fighting is really, really fucked up, man. I mean, so yeah. So I hope the best for Chris. I hope he could fully come back from it. As far as healing wise, I honestly don't really want to see him fight more, but I feel he probably will. Yeah, and then I hope that they just don't match him up with, oh yeah, just fucking go and fight Yoel, which I know that Yoel's not signed. That's just the first guy that I thought of. Or oh yeah, first fight back, you should fight, fucking Izzy or some shit. I hope that they don't do that. I hope that they're just fight Mike Perry or someone like that. Yeah, that shit was upsetting. But then what wasn't was Rose. How good did fucking Rose look? Oh my god, man. I was just screaming, just Doug Rose, just over and over and over again. It was just so. That was such a special moment, and that kick was one of the most beautifully placed kicks I've ever seen in my fucking life. Cause Zhang, she had her hands up, and Rose just snuck it through that fucking guard. Just snuck it through, and fucking Whaley got really messed up from it. And it was a good stoppage too. I feel the ref, excuse me, yawning, but I feel the ref made a good stoppage there. Zhang didn't like it, but I mean, that's just because she's a fucking champion. So if she's still conscious, I'm sure she'll be pissed off that the fight got stopped. But I mean, like, as soon as she got up, like, she could barely even stand up. She was just fucking stumbling. So, but yeah, Rose looked good. Shevchenko looked like phenomenal, man. I mean, there was a lot of people that were saying that on draws. You know, like there's guys like Schaub and stuff like that that were saying that on draws is the, you know, is Shevchenko's potentially toughest matchup at this weight, and I didn't think so, because I mean, if you just look at them on paper, I mean, Shev is so much bigger. She's a lot bigger. Her striking is a lot more technical. It's more technically sound. She's a better wrestler. I mean, I really didn't see how on like Josh could have won that fight. I mean, because if you look at her fight with Rose, I mean, yeah, she like did win, but she was getting pieced up that entire fight. She was getting her ass whooped, and then she slammed Rose like on her fucking head and then won. So I feel like a lot of people look at finishes and not the actual entire fight, and I feel like, you know, that's what happened here. That a lot of people like was thinking that on Draj is a really good finisher. She has like a lot of knockouts. She's a little powerhouse, but Shevchenko is just a different level. So that was really the only fight that I wasn't too shocked of. And then Usman also, I mean, I wasn't shocked he like won. Definitely shocked in the fashion. I mean, I don't think anybody thought that he was gonna knock out George, especially in the way that he did. Like, that was clean. And then George was such a class act, man. Like, just how he handled that post fight, and he went on like a few shows like the day like after, and you know, he just handled it like a full on champ. Just like, yeah, shit, I fucked up, guys. You know, I got fucking knocked out. I mean, fuck, this fucking sucks, huh? Where I feel like is such a like an ad. Remember, no, my stutter. Doesn't matter. It's just such like a hard thing to do, right? To, you know, suffer, you know, one of the most embarrassing things of your entire life, and then not go and hide, right? Where he could have, and there's a lot of fighters that do, but he didn't. I mean, granted, this isn't the first time this man has lost. This man has lost, I think, like 15 times or some shit like that. So I mean, he's definitely been here, but he hasn't really. I mean, he hasn't been flatlined. Like, so it's like, yeah. And then Usman, man. Like, who is gonna beat that man? Like, who? Where Colby's the, like, next guy, but it's like, Colby couldn't be, like, the old, Usman, right? That Usman now is so much better. So it's like, how you couldn't even beat like the old Usman that had like sloppy striking and stuff. Now that his striking is like really good, and he's not just throwing, like, I feel like that move to like actually Trevor Weidman, gotta love my fucking stutter, but that move was really good, and I feel like it really made him technically sound, where before he was kind of throwing crazy reckless punches and stuff like that, and I feel like he was doing it partly just to close that distance, and if he landed him, then good. But you know, but Weidman, like he's trying to hone him into like a good boxer, right? That's throwing, you know, clean strikes like right down the fucking middle, because basics work. And I mean, like, as like we saw in this last fight, I mean, what Usman threw is a basic combo. It's a combo that you learn, you know, one of your first days, right? it's like that lead slap where you don't even really throw that hook, but it's that lead slap to really just blind them so that they don't see that straight right coming, and then you just fire a right down the fucking middle. And straight shots are the deadliest shots, right? You know, that nothing really beats somebody throwing a hook and then you catching them with a straight right or like a straight left, like at the same time. That every time they either get rocked or it's a fucking knockout, right? Like you can't be throwing a punch and then get, cracked with a straight shot and then not, and then be fine, right? That just doesn't happen. So it's exactly how like he caught George, and it was very beautifully set up. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but yeah, that was just Usman. It's just ridiculous, man. I don't see anybody that can beat him. Yeah, because I'm just trying to think of the top 10. I mean, really the only guy he hasn't beat yet. I was about to say Edwards, but didn't he already beat him? I'm not sure about that. I'm just gonna look that up really quick. But I could have sworn that Kamaru and Edwards fought like a couple years back when both of them, were kind of lower ranks. But I mean, I could be wrong there. But yeah, so really, that's the only guy that he hasn't fought yet. And yes, in Usman's second fight, he faced him and he beat him. So yeah, so who the fuck else? Like what? Like Nate fucking Diaz? I mean, let's be real, folks. I mean, I love Nate, but okay, right? Like if it wouldn't be competitive, like I don't think, because Nate, stopping those takedowns is definitely not his strong suit, and I know for certain he's not going to be able to stop Usman's fucking take down. So yeah, I mean, there's really nobody, and then he won't move up because Izzy, right? That he'll never fight him because they're super close. So yeah, like what? Like I know that Colby's next, right? But I don't know. Like, I don't see Colby beating him. I don't see anybody at this fucking weight class beating him. And I mean, let's just look at this weight class really quick for my 0 people listening. I mean, it honestly doesn't really matter, folks, because at this point, I'm not doing this to... I honestly hope that nobody fucking listens to this dog shit. And then once I start making better content that's, better produced, better quality, I hope people start to listen then. But right now, I know that nobody's listening, and I kind of like it that way, because this podcast is bad, people. Let's fucking face it. Like, I know that you're fucking sitting there thinking, this podcast is dog shit, and you are right. You are right, and I realize that. All right, so let's see. So it's Colby, who he beat, Burns, who he beat, Edwards, who he beat, George, who he beat. So there's Vicente Luque, there's Chiesa, and then Stephen Thompson. Yeah, but I mean, really, none of those guys really, yeah, like those, like none of those really jump off the page as them, giving Usman a tough fight. I think probably the toughest fight out of those top 8 is Luque. I feel like that would be a hard fight for Usman, just because he's so durable and he's extremely powerful striker, and his takedown fence is pretty good too. So I would like to see if Usman could take him down, But besides that, I mean, Stephen Thompson maybe. But then again, it's like, Stephen Thompson, I know, cannot stop that takedown. So it's going to be the type of thing that if he can catch him. And Stephen Thompson definitely has the tools to crack him, definitely catch him. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if you can get that done. Honestly, so it's like I don't see any of these guys really, beating Usman here. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's that, right? Yeah, like, should I talk about more shit? Like, should I just end it here? There was actually OneFC last night, and Eddie Alvarez lost to Hooky. I forgot what his name is. His name is actually Ock, but it's spelled OK. So then I just think okay. Eddie Alvarez versus Hooky. But yeah, which was kind of sad, man. But he was outmatched. He was outsized. I mean, this dude was a lot bigger. And Eddie couldn't get close. He couldn't even get close. And so he was just trying to grind him that entire fight, and he could not get this kid down. He for the life of him, he fucking couldn't, and he was goddamn trying as hard as he possibly could. But like, the kid was strong. He was really tall too, which that also hurts. Guys, because when you're a shorter guy shooting in on a taller guy, that's always harder because their hips are higher up, and the higher that your actually center of mass is, the better balance you'll have, and the harder like it is for for a person to to take you down, because then they need to be at like a higher posture, and they could get like less power from it. And I feel like we saw that with C versus Jones, right, where DC couldn't really get that takedown, and I feel like a huge part is because Jones was so much taller, so that just made everything just a lot more difficult. And I feel like we saw that in this fight too, where Hooky was a lot bigger. And yeah, I mean, Eddie, like, you hate to fucking see that, especially since he should have won this last fight. And then then they disqualify him, and then they come back there like, actually, psych, actually, no, it's like a no con like test, and can you fight in 2 weeks? And then, like, the guy he just fought last fucking week. So this kid got 2 wins in 7 days, and one of them was Eddie fucking Alvarez. Keep an eye out for fucking this kid, man. I mean, very impressive. And then Ongla lost. He kind of got dominated by the fucking Dutchman there. Forgot what his name is, but that fight was kind of boring. So yeah, that was OneFC. And tonight is PFL, and my boy Tom Lawler is making his comeback. Fall River Zone, which that's like the next town over. That's like 20 minutes from here. So I will always root for Tom because he's the hometown boy. So yeah, I hope he can pull off that dub. And then also Rory McDonald is fighting on that card. Gleison Tebow, just what? I didn't even know that Gleison was like still fighting, but I guess he is. He's just goddamn 57, and he's still fucking fighting, like his 100th fight. So hey, yeah, so that card should be good. This fucking podcast is dog shit, people. This is dog shit. Oh my god, I cannot wait to switch formats, because this is terrible. Like, honestly, this is fucking dog shit. This is so boring. So boring, man. It's just me. Like, this is literally just a conversation that I would have in, like, my own head. Like a fucking maniac. I would just kind of talk to myself, like about fights in literally the same exact fashion, where I just kind of break them down just in my head, you know? And then, then that's what this podcast is, pretty much. Just me in a room, just by myself, just talking shit about fights, and in turn, it's terrible content. So, I realized that no bets this week. The podcast from now on will be Wednesday night, Thursday morning, somewhere around there. So, yeah. So, the new content will probably be in 2 months or so, because after that, once I switch over, it's going to be every 2 weeks, which I'm a little worried. But the reason for that is that it's going to be a lot nicer content, and it's going to be highly produced. It'll be highly researched. So it's definitely going to take me like 30 to 40 hours to make each podcast, and then also video. Like, I'm going to make actual videos. Right now my videos are not videos. It's just a podcast, like a picture. So, I'm definitely going to put some nice work in, because at the end of the day, I absolutely love this sport, and I would love if I could somehow find a way to, for people to watch my content and like it, and and hopefully somehow find a way to make money, doing this sport. I mean, it's obviously not really like about money, because at this point, if I just get like 1,000 views on my videos and shit like that, I'll be like, okay, nice. But I mean, hopefully it'll get to a point where I could actually make some money off of this, and that would be fucking awesome. But I realize that that's not going to happen with this dog shit podcast. This fucking pile of shit. But yeah, I've been going on for too long. So there's no bets this week, but we do have a fight. We have Prochazka versus Reyes. I don't know. I'm still talking. Like my average view time is like 3 minutes. So it's like, I know there's not a single soul that's fucking listening, but if you are, I love you. This is probably the worst pod that I've ever done. So I'm sorry, but hang tight, people. It'll soon will be brand new content and rebranding, because past the parsley, it's kind of I do like that name, but I realize that it makes it sound like it's a cooking show or some shit. So so I'm definitely gonna completely revamp everything. Like, I'm gonna make this podcast a lot better. It's gonna be a lot more produced, and there's gonna be a like new name, new fucking logo, new everything. So, but it'll still be on like the same feed. So if you're subscribed, then just stay put, and you'll see it eventually changing. But yeah, so enjoy the fights this week, people, and I love you all, and I shall talk to you next week. Deuces.